Yo, what's going on everybody? Lewis with Elite Fine Finish. I wanted to come to everybody today and talk about one thing that's been a really hot topic and we're seeing a lot more of, which is going to be stain work and also toning. So a lot of our customer base, my personal customer base that comes into the store, for the last 2-3 years, we've kind of been stuck in this trend of everybody wanting white or light gray cabinets. And now we're starting to see more and more stain work. I grew up around stain work. I know stain work really well, color matching, touching up, all of that good stuff. I have for the past 2 years been experimenting and using the Renner Universal Stain System. And I'm gonna use some of those products today to talk to you about how you can use these waterborne systems and incorporate them into your business. So stay tuned and we'll get started. All right guys, so let's talk about the Renner Universal Spray Stain System, or the stain system should I say, and what it kind of consists of and how you can utilize it in your business. So I'm not one to use something and then start talking about it really quick. So I've really done a lot of behind the scenes, hands-on work with these different products to make sure that they work properly and to fully make sure that I understand how they can and should be used. Luckily, our good friends at Renner have helped us through that whole process. Raphael has been a really huge help and taught me a lot about what these products can and can't do. So the way it's sold is by stain bases and colorants, and everything would be measured out on a scale, like a gram scale. So I'm not actually going to measure everything today, but one thing I want to tell you is that it is extremely important that you do measure everything out, especially if you're using this for a job. If you need to make it again, or for some reason you spill it, you need to have that information documented. So Renner has spray stain bases, wiping stain bases, glaze bases, and then they have all of the colorants. They have a foldable brochure that shows you how to make, I want to say 30 plus different colors. The way we're going to be using it today is actually as a toner. I'm doing this video specifically for a customer that we just sold some product to who's going to be toning an oak kitchen. I happen to have an oak door and I want to run through the steps for toning. So what I'm going to be using is the Surf Prep 3x4 with the fine 1/2 inch abrasive, and I'm also going to use a 2-sided pad. It's really important that we don't burn through this finish or try very hard not to burn through the finish. Reason being, we are using actual colorants, and if there's raw spots and there's unfinished, or there's finished spots and then you have raw wood spots, there could be some discoloration there. Okay, so where we're going to start is by cleaning the door. Okay, so I've actually already cleaned the door with degreaser on site, so I'm just going to give it a quick wipe off, make sure we don't have any contamination on the actual substrate. And I'm going to let this dry for a second, and then we'll come right back to sanding. Okay, so again, we're going to use the Surf Prep 3x4 with a 1/2 inch abrasive, and I'm going to be real careful not to burn through. For good measure, I'm going to go back with it with a 2-sided pad. Just make sure we actually scuff sand all of the little details, because if we don't, that toner is going to have a really hard time sticking to the substrate, and it might even separate from the substrate, and we don't want that to happen. We want to try to get as even and consistent coverage on the panel that we possibly can, which is going to lead to our next step, once we have this door, which is going to be our spray equipment choice selection and why we are choosing this particular setup. Come on, baby. Give me a kiss. Mwah. Okay, so spray equipment. What we're gonna go with is the Apollo 7600 spray gun, and I'm actually gonna use a very small needle and nozzle, which is our 0.8 with our B standard air cap. This is gonna give me the absolute best atomization. Now you might be thinking, you're using waterborne material, how are you gonna use such a small needle and nozzle? I'm going to use the gravity cup #1 plus the PPS system that's actually designed for high viscosity coatings. So I'm not gonna have any actual issues getting the material out of the gun because this is a pressurized system. But what we wanna make sure that we're doing is we're getting the absolute finest finish available. We don't want those droplet sizes to be really big. We're applying a coating, so we want this coating to actually be very even and consistent across the panel as we possibly can. The other thing is, because all I'm trying to do here is actually achieve color, I'm not necessarily concerned about having a very high viscosity coating or something with a lot of solids. So I'm actually going to reduce this quite a bit, and I have checked with Raphael over at Renner. He's confirmed that it's okay for us to thin this material in this type of application. So I'm actually okay, so actually that's about a 20% reduction currently with the distilled deionized water. But what we're going to use is the actual spray stain colorants that are already diluted. So this is going to add a little bit more water into the mixture and make it even thinner. But again, all we're trying to do is achieve color. So I'm going to use 2 colors only because this isn't for anybody. I'm just doing this to kind of show you how the stain system works. This is actually the light walnut color that I'm going to add to it. And I'm just going to drop a little bit of blue in it as well. And again, it's very, very important that you do this on a scale. If this is for a customer's project, you need to know exactly how much colorant and base and water that you're adding, because if you have to make more, it's going to be really difficult to do so. Not to say that it's impossible, but you save yourself the time and document the finishing schedule so that you can go right back to it. So I dropped a little bit of blue with that light walnut just to give it more of that espresso type color. And then we'll look at it. And this is going to come with experience. So you're going to need to play with this a little bit and see where exactly we're at with the color. Okay. So this is looking really good. I'll kind of show you here. We have good color, and I'm really just looking at the side of the mixing cup. And again, this is going to come with experience on the exact ratio you're going to need. Now people are going to ask, can somebody just make this for you? Yeah, I mean, I could sit here and make it for my customers, but honestly, I'm doing you a disservice by not teaching you how to actually do something like this yourself. So we'll get this thrown in our PPS cup. Okay, so this is the most important part of where we start in this process, which is going to be actually adjusting our fan pattern. That's why I love this Apollo gun. It is the most customizable and adjustable piece of spray equipment that I've ever worked with, and that is the honest truth. Why? Because I have full adjustability between 2 and 8 psi with a pressurized cup, and I can adjust that to 1/10 of a psi. So what I'll actually do is start with my fan pattern wide open and my material hose all the way closed until I start to see a nice fan pattern. Now you see how soft my edge is here? That tells me that that's pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. Now I'll spray it heavier to see where I'm at and just look, but as you can tell, this is gonna give me a really, really nice, even, consistent fan pattern across the substrate. And all I'm trying to do is achieve color. So this is gonna work out perfect. All right, so now you can tell that there's a very drastic difference in color. Now you can do one of two things. You notice that Apollo does an extremely good job at getting in all of the little nooks and crannies because we've atomized that material extremely, extremely fine. We can leave it alone as it is. What I really, really like to do when I'm toning, because color inconsistencies can be an issue, is I like to glaze it. So we're gonna let it dry. We're gonna put a black glaze over it and a clear coat and call it done. And you'll see how that looks. Okay, so we're gonna get our actual powder glaze base, and I'm gonna use the same colorant in black and go for a black powder glaze. So you can see how this system is so universal. We can just start selling you bases, wiping stain base, glaze bases, spray stains. We even have a uniforming base that works really, really well on softwoods that traditionally do not stain well. So getting this powder glaze mixed up, we're gonna grab the panel, spray it, and continue on. All right. So we are going to use the same exact gun setup, the 0.8 with the B standard air cap on the Apollo 7600, and we'll get to it. So this is going to give us a lot of characteristics to this panel once we wipe it off. So this is the powder glaze. Again, all I really want to do is make sure that it sticks in certain areas. And you can even wipe this off right now if you didn't want to use a non-woven pad to wipe it off. So we'll get a little bit of air on it, let it dry up. This stuff dries very, very quickly. Okay, so now that the glaze has dried up, we're actually just going to take our non-woven and start lightly taking it off. Now, how you choose to do this is completely up to you. Leave it on a little bit heavier, leave it on a little bit lighter. Choice is yours. We're going to take a majority of this off. It's just more to help us highlight some of that natural beauty to the oak, and it gets trapped there in the grain, and it just adds a little bit something extra to the finishing schedule, and it could give you a lot more uniformity across the panel as well. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and top coat this with the Renner clear and call it a day. So really gonna be a nice panel, especially considering the fact that we're using a waterborne system and not a solvent-borne system. I've always been accustomed to toning and shading with a solvent system, and to be able to do it and it look good with water, it definitely has its benefits for sure. So that glaze is just accenting the grain slightly. We'll tape off our panel here and we'll shoot the clear and get a good look at what the actual end result's gonna be. All right guys, so unfortunately the camera died before I got to spray the clear, and I went ahead and sprayed it anyways, so you can see just how good that panel actually looks. We ran through the whole process. Hope you got something out of it, guys. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Check us out on the web, www.hasosales.com. We look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions, and thanks so much for watching.